Hey guys, welcome back to Mad Moose Barbecue. I'm Zach, and today I'm going to show you how to reverse sear a tri-tip, and we're going to be using the Masterbuilt gravity-fed series 1050 smoker. Check it out. Okay guys, so like I said, what we're doing today is we've got a 3.78 pound tri-tip. So it's a really big tri-tip. It is untrimmed, so we'll be probably cutting off, I'd say at least half a pound of fat from it, but we are gonna leave a lot of it on just because I like how it crisps up and the flavor it gives. We are going to be cooking this at 225 degrees until it hits an internal temperature of about 105. And then I'm going to show you the versatility of the Masterbuilt gravity-fed series, and we're going to crank it up all the way to 700 degrees. And I'm going to show you how fast it can go from 225 to 700. And then we'll sear it off, get it to the finished temperature of about 135. It's like a medium rare. And then that's going to be it. It's going to be a real easy cook, but I'm going to take you through step by step. This can be done on any smoker, as long as you can keep that temperature and get that high temperature at the end to get your sear. You can do this. So if you have a pellet smoker, if you have an offset, if you have a kettle, even a gas grill, I'll go over that a little bit more on how you can do this on a gas grill. But any of those are going to work. It's the same concept. The method doesn't change. So let's get into it. All right, so obviously first thing we're going to do is take this tri-tip out of the package, and as you can see, all the fat is left on. It has not been trimmed at all by the butcher. So there's kind of two sides. There's this side, which is all fat. That's going to be our fat cap side. And then the other side, we'll call it just the top side. It has some of this fat, but it's kind of broken up, as you can see. It's not real solid like the other side. So this is the side that we're going to trim. So I'm not going to take too much off, but make sure you have a sharp knife, and we're just going to get a good portion of this off because that's not going to be real good fat to eat. Now, when you're trimming, it sometimes helps if you throw the tri-tip in the freezer, like maybe 30 minutes before you're going to start working on it. That just helps the fat harden up a little bit, makes your knife go through a little bit easier. And we're going to take about that much off, not too much. I don't want to take all of it off. That's not necessary. It's going to render down some, so I actually think that's okay right there. And then you've got little chunks that are kind of like, see this part here? I hope you can see it on the camera, but it's real thin and it's kind of just hanging out off the tri-tip. I'm going to actually get rid of that whole piece because it's going to burn up. It's not going to be any good once we cook it. It's going to just be overdone, and nobody except maybe the dog is going to want to eat that part. So over here on the side, we'll take some of this off. All right. Expose the meat right there. And then on this end, this all is about going to come off here. Just like that. And I think that's going to be good. We don't need to take more than that off. Like I said, there's some pieces here that are just not really very thick. So we're just gonna get rid of those. Make sure you guys have a real sharp knife for doing this. This is a Dalstrong knife that I got. Boning knives work really good, fillet knives. work well, just something sharp. So this is also, you know, backyard cooking, so I'm not gonna get super crazy with the trimming. This is not a competition. So for me, this is good. This is gonna render. I don't care about the silver skin. Everyone freaks out about the silver skin. I really don't care about it. It doesn't, I don't taste a difference. I don't feel a difference when I leave it on there. So I just leave it on. Kind of like with the ribs and the membrane thing, I just leave it on. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now for this side, the only stuff we're gonna trim off is gonna be this. You can see these like paper thin layers just hanging out. So we're gonna get rid of all of that because that's no good. That's not something we want. Try not to go too deep. I went a little too deep there. But anything that just pulls up like this, we're gonna get rid of it. Because that's not good fat. We don't want that. That'll be like chewing paper or something. Okay, so we got it like that. If you want, some people like to score it like this. I don't typically do it, but just for showing you, some people like to do that. You can get the seasoning in there a little bit better. But that's it. That's all the trimming we're gonna do. If you got a couple little pieces hanging off the side, get rid of those. But that's it. Now we're gonna hit it with some Shabika's garlic oil. I don't really notice a flavor enhancement that it gives, but you can use any oil you want, any garlic oil, duck fat. I bought some duck fat. That stuff's amazing for getting stuff nice and crispy. But today we'll add a little bit of this. Just gonna rub it around the meat. Really, it's gonna be our binder just to help the rub stick. And of course today we're gonna be using our Mad Moose barbecue all-purpose rub. And this rub has really great flavor, really pretty color. It's available on our website at www.madmoosebbq.com. It's sugar-free. Right now I'm actually doing the keto diet, so this is also going to be a keto-friendly tri-tip. So yeah, if you like savoriness, not really a sweet rub at all, there's no sugar in it, so if you want something more savory, it goes really well on beef, chicken, pork, vegetables, really anything. But we're gonna cover this completely. Do not neglect the sides of the tri-tip. You wanna get every part just like that. You don't wanna see any meat left. Okay? Get this end. All right. It's completely covered up in rub. We don't wanna see any meat. All right. So that's done, and that's it. That's it for the prep, guys. Simple trim, olive oil, plenty of rub. It's gonna go on the smoker right now. All right, the smoker's sitting right around 225 degrees, which is exactly where we want it. We're gonna be using Fire and Flavor lump charcoal today, and then I also had a pretty large piece, chunk of pecan that I threw in the ash bucket, which is what we're gonna get our smoke from. So we'll be smoking with pecan wood today. We're gonna throw it on the smoker, 225 degrees. I would say it's probably gonna take at least 2 hours before it hits our target temperature of 105, 110. And then we're gonna crank this up to about 700 degrees. I'll show you how fast it gets from 225 to 700. It's pretty amazing. And then we're gonna sear it on both sides until it hits our internal temperature of 135, which is about medium, medium rare. And then we'll let it rest and we'll slice into it. Real quick, guys, I just want to mention that we put the fat side down. This smoker produces heat from the bottom, so that fat cap is really going to be acting like a barrier for our meat, keeping it from being dried out. The myth of fat cap on top because the fat's going to drip down inside the meat has been busted. That's not true. So what you really want to do with your fat cap is place it wherever your heat is coming from. So on a reverse flow offset smoker, you might put that side up because you have heat coming from the top. On this or my RecTech pellet smoker, the heat's coming from the bottom. So that's where the fat cap goes, because we want to protect that meat, and that fat cap acts like a barrier for the meat. So we got it on 225. We're gonna check back in maybe an hour and a half, see where we're at, and we'll go from there and see what we gotta do, how much longer it's gonna take, and then I'll show you how fast this thing gets up to 700 degrees. All right guys, our tri-tip has hit an internal temperature of about 115. It got a little bit away from me, but it's gonna be okay. We're gonna take it off. It's gonna work the same. I'm not too worried about it. So it's looking really good. It's got a nice color to it. I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna put it on the foil, and then I'm going to crank this thing up to 700 degrees. I'm gonna start the timer too, so we can know how long it took. So from 225 to 700. And then we'll see how fast it gets up to temperature. Hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. I cleaned it out really good before I started, so there shouldn't be too much oil and debris in there from previous cooks to start a grease fire. So what we're gonna do with the tri-tip, we're just gonna put it on some foil here, wrap it up just to keep it warm, and when the temp gets up to heat, we're gonna throw it back on there and sear both sides until we get that 135 temperature that we're looking for, and then we'll take it off, rest it, and slice into it. So while the smoker is heating up, I just want to address a couple things about the smoker that people have been asking me. Now, the issue with stuff dripping below it seems to have subsided. I was getting some fat that was dripping onto the bottom shelf there during cooks. I don't know why, but it appears that it probably, some creosote started to build up in there, and it's kind of sealed itself, so that's not an issue anymore. People complain about the Wi-Fi. I haven't had any issues connecting the Wi-Fi to my phone or anything like that. Also, people keep talking about, the fuel, the coal, whatever you're using, falls through the grates on the chute too fast, so that people are having issues with big chunks falling through and essentially wasting fuel. I also haven't had an issue with that. I use Fire and Flavor lump charcoal, so they're pretty good sized chunks. I wouldn't go anything too big, because then you might get some blockage in there, but I have not had that issue myself. It's a really easy fix. You can take two little skewers, stainless steel skewers, and weave them in between that grate, and it's going to solve that problem. So that's not a huge deal. Now, the one thing that I will talk about is fuel consumption. This smoker does burn up through the charcoal. It likes to just eat it up. That's the only drawback really that I've had, is that it just uses so much fuel. Probably for this cook, I'd say it's gonna take maybe 10 pounds of charcoal, just because we're cranking it up to that 700 degrees, so it's really gonna burn through the charcoal fast. When you're doing low and slow, it's not as bad. Again, just a trade-off, compared to my RecTech, that thing can last, a pound of pellets last an hour, and it's a 40-pound hopper, so it lasts for a really long time. Drawbacks of the pellet smoker is it does not get to 700 degrees. So reverse searing isn't the greatest thing on it. Another question people have been asking me about is, I tell people I haven't used the RecTech since I bought this gravity-fed smoker, and I think the reason is just because I really like the flavor that this thing puts off. It's just that real wood flavor. You get that lump charcoal flavor. Pellet smokers, they're great. I'm not knocking pellet smokers. I love my RecTech. At the end of the day, if it came down to it and I had to do a really long cook and I wanted something that was not going to mess up and just completely reliable, I'd pick the RecTech every time. I know that thing is going to hold the temperature steady, and I don't have to touch it I could leave it running for an entire day and it's gonna be fine. I don't have to mess with it. This thing behind me, I feel like I maybe just need to keep a little bit closer eye on it, just make sure the temperature's not running away, but I haven't had that issue happen. So, you know, it's been a great smoker. Let's see, we are 4 minutes from when I cranked it up to 700 degrees, 4 minutes, and we are at 515 degrees. So in 4 minutes, we've gone up 300 degrees, which, I mean, if you think about it, how long does it take your pellet smoker to hit 400 or 500? 20, 30 minutes? That's what I love about this thing. So, I mean, it is moving. 5:30 already. So I'm gonna assume another 2 minutes and we're gonna be at that 700 mark. We get our tri-tip back on, sear it off, and then we're gonna be done. All right, guys, this thing is at about 650. That's gonna be good enough for me. It took 7 minutes from 225 degrees to get to 650 degrees. And, you know, we could wait till it hits 700. It's only gonna take another minute or two, but I wanna get this on there and done because I'm excited about it. So, it is just blazing hot. Woo! We are gonna throw it on there on our sear side, and you can just hear the sizzle. And at this point, guys, now it's essentially turned into a grill, and it's just crazy the heat this thing can put out in such a small amount of time. So we're gonna close the lid, let it do its thing for about a minute or two, and then we'll flip it over and hit the other side. All right, been on 2 minutes. Let's flip it over. We are, I think it was at like 620 degrees. Every time we open it, we do lose some heat. Look at that. Beautiful sear marks. Close it back up. Another 2 minutes. All right, guys, I just checked it. We are at 132-ish, right in the center, which is perfect for me. It's gonna be the medium rare. The outsides obviously are gonna be a little bit more cooked, but you know, the kids will eat that part. I like the good medium rare center. Man, this thing is phenomenal. We're gonna take it off, and you can hear the sizzle right there. Throw it down right there. Close this back up. Crank it down because I'm going to throw some artichokes on here as a side. So I'm going to put this back up to about 250. But man, this thing looks absolutely beautiful. What we're going to do now is we got to let this rest. So I'm going to take foil that we were using earlier and just tent it just like this. Knock it real loose. You don't have to wrap it up real tight. Just gonna tent it like this, let those juices reabsorb into the meat. We're gonna let this sit there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then it's gonna be ready to slice in. All right, guys, we're back. So we've got our tri-tip off. It's been resting about 15 minutes. We put that foil over it. You know, you gotta let it rest. You can't just cut in it right away, or else those juices are just gonna fall out everywhere. You kinda gotta let the tri-tip reabsorb those juices into it so that we don't lose everything. You're still gonna see juices all over the place, but it'd be a lot more if we didn't let it rest. Quick recap of what we did. We threw it on the gravity-fed Masterbuilt smoker for about an hour and a half is what it took at 225 degrees until it got to an internal temperature of about 115. Then we took it off, wrapped it in some foil to keep it warm, and cranked the smoker up to 700 degrees. It got from 225 to about 650-ish in like 7 minutes, which is just amazing. You could never get that with a pellet smoker. Again, not knocking pellet smokers, but it's not gonna happen. It's just impossible. I don't care what pellet smoker you have. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna cut into it. I'm gonna show you how to cut the tri-tip because tri-tip grain runs in different directions. So you need to make sure that you always cut against the grain. I'm gonna show you how to kind of find it and how to cut against it, because if you cut with the grain, it's gonna be tough and stringy, and you're gonna waste the entire cook that you just did, waste a piece of meat, and it's just not gonna be up to its full potential. So we're gonna cut into it right now, and then we're gonna taste it. Okay, so you can see there's a bunch of juices did come out just from sitting here. Now, hopefully you can see this on the camera, but you can see the grains running this direction right here, all the way up to about right here. And then they start running in this direction. So what that means is that right where it changes, that's where we're gonna make our first cut. And this is the moment of truth. Perfect. Look at that. That is a juicy, medium rare tri-tip. Now, to finish slicing, like I said, the grains are running in this direction, like that. Oh, easy way to find it is if you spread it apart like this, kind of, you can see which way they're going. So what we're gonna do, 90-degree turn, cut this way, against the grain. It's like you're making a T shape when you're cutting it. And we'll take a piece right here. And that right there is what you want. You want it to have these little pieces that look like it would tear apart. It probably won't, because tri-tip can be a little bit, tough still. But this is just delicious. You're gonna rip through it with your teeth, no problem. So juicy, tender. That's it. That is the perfect tri-tip right there, guys. So I'm gonna bring you out and we're gonna taste it. All right, guys, I'm gonna cut a little slice off of this. I am just super excited, so I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna cut a piece off of that one little slice we did, and give it a try. Might as well get the rest of it. Man, I love tri-tip. One more little piece, one more. That rub, the pecan wood that we used, so much flavor. And the great thing about this, fits perfectly into my diet. So, you know what, guys? This was a winner. Super easy. I hope I didn't make it too difficult. I hope this was something that was easy for you to follow along and do yourself. Like I said, any smoker can do this. You can do this on a pellet grill, set it to the same temperature. You can do it on your gas grill. Turn on 2 of the burners on one side, put your meat on the other side, and just keep track of that internal temperature and try to keep the heat as steady as possible. Those are the main things. Same method, everything else applies. So thanks for watching today. Make sure you check us out on Instagram and Facebook, Mad Moose BBQ. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and make sure you get notified every time we put out new videos. Lastly, check out our website, www.madmoosebbq.com. Find yourself some of our original sauce, our bourbon peach habanero sauce, and of course the rub that we used today. We've also got some pretty cool merch on there. Hats, shirts, aprons, stickers, tons of stuff on there. If you do go on the website and you happen to order something, make sure you use code YouTube15 and you can save 15% off your entire order. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.